What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We are here seeing this new video. I believe, why the Netherlands is so well designed. I think I did Switzerland, I believe, and now we're here with all of Europe. Why it's so well designed. I see they had a two comparison with like the U.S. and Europe, so that's how I'm gonna look at it. I know probably some of the main things probably gonna be public transportation, which I absolutely love about Europe, and I haven't even been there yet. But that's one of the main things I'm definitely gonna want to experience, is doing the public transportation, seeing that I can still get to and from different places and also different countries. So I'm gonna check this out. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send down those recommendations, and let's see why it's so well designed.
This is a map of Europe's mass transit railway system across 33 countries. The yellow lines indicate the presence of a train line, and as you can see, it's very dense. There are hardly any spaces where there isn't any coverage for railways. Now, if we compare this to a map of railroad tracks in the US, it's a different story. While parts of the US have some good mass transit, there are large areas of the country which isn't covered by Amtrak, the nation's largest passenger railroad service. But let me show you another map, this time of high-speed rail in Europe. Now obviously, high-speed railways aren't going to be as common as regular speed railways, as they require excellent design, strict planning, and massive investment. And yet, as we can see, high-speed rail is present in Europe, which is a stark contrast to the US, as you can see from this map. While the US does have some higher speed rail, like the Aquila line in the Northeastern Corridor, it's hardly an effective map of transport solutions. And the Aquila line isn't really that fast either. It can reach about 150 miles per hour, but averages less than 70. This is not the case for Europe's insanely well designed railroad system. And you have to remember that Europe's system accomplishes this while spanning 33 different nations in a very diverse continent. And I know what you're probably thinking. This is just because Europe is smaller than the United States, which simply isn't true. While the European Union
like there is like you see a lot of railroad tracks everywhere. Like I know in my town, we have a lot of railroad tracks. No train. Matter of fact, I just seen a train. Guys, I ain't gonna lie. It's been years since we seen a train. Like when I was younger, there was still trains like going back and forth. We used to get stopped at the train tracks, let trains pass, and on our way to school and stuff. Now I just seen one. It's been years, and it came at night. I don't know where they were going, but I wouldn't say it's because Europe is small, but the United States, if you're bigger, you can still do more. Like I don't know.
is smaller than the United States, which simply isn't true. While the European Union is smaller than the US, continental Europe has an area that is about 1.04 times as much as the US. So we can dismiss this argument that the United States can't be that well designed because it's too big. Europe simply is better designed. But if you're American, you might not understand why railroad tracks or public transport as a whole is so important. I mean, driving a car works fine, right? Well, no, and Europe showcases why a primary focus on private transportation is so detrimental to a well-functioning transit system. Look at these maps. They show the US road network versus the EU's. And as you can see,
Gotta look at these. Let me go back.
Look at these maps. They show the US road network versus the
Okay, I mean, I know the U.S. is bigger, but I mean, from the looks of it, you can see that it's a lot more in the U.S. It seems like there's a lot more in the U.S. It just looks like squiggly lines. It don't even look like it's well designed. It look like squiggly lines everywhere on here in the U.S. And I know I'm probably in the way, and let me duck down. I know my head, I'm in the video, but just squiggly lines just right there. But over here, you can see it's more smoother. Yeah, it's more smoother. It's not all over the place type thing. So, yeah, it just looked better.
use. And as you can see, the EU's road network is not nearly as impressive as the US's. And yet, when you look at some of the most congested cities in the world, European countries don't feature particularly prominently in the global rankings. This is pretty shocking information because you'd assume that the country with a more expansive road network has a lot less congestion, especially considering the United States has devoted lots of time and money to their highways. So how come Europe is less congested when they have fewer roads? Well, it all comes down to disincentivizing the use of cars and, most importantly, making an attractive alternative. Europe does this by having both private and public transportation infrastructure, which technically the US has as well, it's just a lot worse. But on top of this, Europe makes it pretty expensive to buy, own and use a car. This is achieved by having high taxes on vehicles and gasoline. In fact, here's a map of worldwide gasoline prices. As you can see, European nations are in the top rankings, while the US lies at the bottom, charging very little. But let me be very clear.
That makes sense because usually, I mean, I'm that type of person. I believe you get what you pay for. So if you paying less, I mean, you can't expect much out of it. If you're paying more, you can expect. But it's like if they're creating a public system for people to, use effectively and efficiently, why not make gas high? So for that person that's, wanting to get their own car and stuff, to think, there's people complaining now about the gas going up here in the US. If we had a public transportation system that was very efficient like Europe, I think people would not be complaining about high gas, because I see y'all comment, y'all tell me, wait, y'all shouldn't be complaining. Like, our gas is super high too. But it's like, if we had a public system, I don't think nobody would be complaining, or they shouldn't be. I know I would. That would be easy. That would be way better to me. Like, people are spending almost $1,000 to $2,000 a month just on a car. You got maintenance, you got insurance, you got gas. God forbid your tires messed up. Like, those a lot of things that you got to worry about. And there's even more things because you got to get inspections a certain amount of time every other year or so like that. So there is a lot. But, I mean, with the gas, if we had this system, I think nobody would be complaining. But the U.S., they got to get their money. Cash rule everything around me, dollar bill.
Top rankings, while the US lies at the bottom, charging very little. But let me be very clear, it's only a good idea to make it expensive to drive a car if you have an attractive alternative, which America doesn't, but Europe does. I mean, obviously this wouldn't work in the US with its current transportation infrastructure, but in Europe, this is a great strategy because you make the roads less congested for those who actually need them and give everyone else an affordable and efficient alternative, being Europe's amazing public transport like the trains on the railways. This is arguably the better strategy because even though the vast majority of Americans have access to vehicles at around 91% and gas is comparatively cheap, it still leaves 9% who don't have access to vehicles. What are these people who can't afford a car supposed to do? I mean, sometimes public
asking for a ride every day. Either asking or I mean, there's still people that be walking. I still see people walk to work,
Transport isn't even an option or simply too expensive for many. So you've now actively excluded those who aren't exactly the most well off from society. To make matters worse, some US cities actually got rid of their public transport to make room for more cars. I'm not joking. American streetcars like trams were actually removed to make way for bigger roads. Absolutely insane. Compare that to Oslo, Berlin and Madrid, where discussions are underway to restrict or even exclude most cars from the city center. And let's not forget that when you have cars, you also need somewhere to park them. And this is where things start to become rather ridiculous. You see, the United States has 2 billion parking spaces for 250 million cars. That's 8 parking spaces per vehicle. In Europe, it's pretty much a one-to-one with around 250 million public parking spaces for 300 million cars. But to emphasize the ridiculousness of this even further, the area that the US dedicates for car parking is actually larger than the area dedicated for housing people. people. It's honestly unbelievable that people are being squeezed out of American cities due to regulators wanting to make more room for parking spaces. This simply wouldn't fly in the EU, as it has a whole policy dedicated to improving urban planning. See, the EU spent 115 billion euros between 2014 and 2020 to improve city design by making it smarter, greener, and more connected. Simply meaning they allocated funds to make their cities more efficient, more connected, and better for the environment. And better for the environment they really are, as the average resident in a typical Western US city, such as Los Angeles or Phoenix, contributes approximately 6 times more carbon to the atmosphere per capita than an average European city resident. This is purely the result of not having effective transport solutions, which saves resources and allows people to move about efficiently. And exactly that, moving about efficiently, is something most of Europe's citizens are able to do as a result of the European Union. See, most of Europe's nations are in the European Union, which gives the EU citizens a number of perks, which includes a free travel area. This has been one of the most important achievements of the EU, as it makes it possible for an EU citizen to travel freely to other EU member states and stay for up to 3 months. All they need is a passport or even just an ID card. No visas, no trips to embassies, no form filing, just head straight over. This makes it incredibly easy to travel, study, and work in other countries.
That would be perfect, man, because I know here, like, we're getting ready to go to Florida and go to Disney World, and it costs so much just to get on a flight for 2 hours to go to another state for, I think we're going for like 4 or 5 days. Like, it costs so much for us, but I've been hearing y'all say how much it costs to, you can visit a couple of other countries in Europe, probably way less than I just paid for us to go to Florida. That's crazy. Like, that's why I said when I visit Europe, I gotta visit multiple countries in the amount of time that I'm staying there, because I know I will be able to.
Straight over. This makes it incredibly easy to travel, study, and work in other countries and communities. And having this level of centralization is very important to good design, as it gives the smartest people the opportunity to work where they are most useful. And since good design obviously requires a lot of complicated problem solving and planning, this is very smart. Another smart thing is the incredible biking infrastructure we see in Europe, perfectly illustrated by this map of bike path density in Europe. All the purple lines are bike paths, and there's clearly a lot of them, especially towards the left.
That kind of look like that US map we seen earlier.
The purple lines are bike paths, and there's clearly a lot of them, especially towards the left side of the map, but that's just because this is the home of the Dutch, the Netherlands. Now, the funny thing is, I won't be able to compare this to a map of bike path density in the United States, because such a map hasn't been made. At least I wasn't able to find any, and I can only wonder why. But anyway, what Europe and also the European Union has achieved is pretty remarkable, as it's hard to think of another set of such diverse countries where you would be able to travel so freely, in an efficient and inexpensive manner. I mean, you can literally get from Paris to Amsterdam, for example, in just 3 hours for around $30.
Oh, what? $30? You know how much it will take? No, these are different countries. If I was, because you can fly, like, say for instance, Houston, San Antonio, from Dallas, because I'm closer to Dallas, Texas. You can fly from Dallas to like Houston, San Antonio. You know how much that's gonna cost you? That's still gonna cost you. I was finna pull it up, but that's gonna cost you almost like $200, if not $300 to $500, just to do that. 3 hours. I mean, you could drive to Houston. I've been to Houston. It takes like 3 to 4 hours. But if I wanted to fly there, it was gonna take 4 to 5. And you tell me you can get on a train from Amsterdam to Paris. Wow. I'm gonna do that when I go there.
Imagine being able to travel all over Asia without any border crossings, checks, or visas, and being able to stay for months at a time. That would be truly amazing.
Very.
And let's not forget that European design has always been distinctive and very successful. In fact, the continent's history of design and interconnectedness serves as a model for the rest of the world. But even though Europe and the EU are pretty great and have amazing infrastructure, they obviously aren't perfect. And I'd love to hear some of the reasons it might not be, so leave a comment down below if you have some thoughts on this. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, Europe is way better. Europe is way better. And I haven't even been there yet. Wow. We need that. We need that. We could use that. But, like, you can see, the United States is just built for cars. And now they're raising the gas prices. People going crazy, going nuts. And what they're going to do next? Just get an electric car? They're going to start promoting more electric cars or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is for the U.S. in these next few years, but it's going to be interesting to see. Because, man, Europe has the better way. This is the better way. This is the best way. This is way better. Way better. And designed very well. This is very designed and organized very well. Wow. I'll be amazed at these videos when I see how Europe is just structured and designed. That's amazing. That's amazing to me. But guys, that's all I have for this video. Y'all make sure y'all send me more recommendations. Y'all hit that subscribe button. And y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.